Hi, this is Mark from LongIslandWatch.com, and today I want to do just a little bit of a diatribe, I guess. I want to talk to you about watch pricing. Something that's been coming up more and more frequently, both in comments in the videos, online in forums, questions from customers, is, how can insert favorite brand here, Seiko, charge $1,000 for a watch with XYZ components, and another brand, insert favorite brand name here, Phoebus, let's say, give me almost the same exact thing, and it's half the cost, half the price. And it's a very valid question, and people automatically just assume that the more expensive guy is overcharging. And I don't think that's totally fair. It's not exactly true. And I want to just discuss that with you. So obviously, in economics, there's loads of things that go into the pricing of an object. And I started writing down on a piece of paper what I thought goes into the price of something. Obviously there's labor, obviously there's materials, obviously there's cost of running a business. There's, if your business is small, you have almost no nut to crack. But if you're a multinational, multi-million dollar corporation, there's a larger nut that you have to take care of. Advertising, if I didn't say it, that's a very big one. You have all that stuff, and all of that will eventually figure into, the end price of the product. But something that doesn't really come up often, and people just don't talk about it, maybe because they just don't think about it, is, I'm looking over at my notes, I want to make sure there's nothing I missed, is the distribution system that the brand goes out through. And that, to me, in my opinion, and what I can think of, is the most important factor in what determines a wristwatch's final retail price. So what I mean distribution system, in the conventional retail days, go back over 20 years ago, before e-commerce really hit, you generally had, I don't know if this is what it's called, it's what I call it. I call it a three-tier system. You have a manufacturer, you have a distributor, and you have a retailer. Okay? So I know Orient well, I know how they operate, so let's use them as an example. You have Orient manufacturer, they are headquartered in Japan, they have manufacturing facilities in parts of Asia. Manufacturer. You have, in the USA, I have Orient Watch USA, distributor. And then I have Long Island Watch, retailer, and I sell direct to the customer. And for years, that has been the flow of how things work. The manufacturer makes it, sells a bunch to the distributor sells them out to retailers sell them out to customers. And that model has worked very well for a very long time. So what does this three-tier system mean? Well, everybody wants to make money along the way. Everybody. Me, the distributor, the manufacturer. So just using totally round numbers, and I'm probably going to get lost in the numbers. Let's say, Orient Japan makes a watch for $80. This is all hypothetical. They make a watch for, it costs them $80 to manufacture it. And they're going to sell it to their distributor. They want to make a profit. Let's say they want to make roughly a 20% profit. So they mark it up to about $100. Okay, it goes to Orient Watch USA. Orient Watch USA buys it from Orient in Japan for $100. Orient themselves makes $20. They're happy. They obviously sell loads and loads of watches. So a little bit of margin, a lot of watches, a lot of money. Orient Watch USA has it, and they say, okay, we're going to find a bunch of retailers, and we're going to sell these out to the retailers. So they sell it to me, Island Watch, or any other retailer that's out there. And let's say they want to make their own 20%, again, because they're still moving decent volume, so they want to make 20%. So they, mark it up to now, let's say it's $120. I realize that these aren't markups and margins, but I'm just trying to just trying to make it round so you can figure it out and just, do the math. 120. So Orient's going to sell it to me for 120. Now, let's just back up for a second. The watch was made for 80. It hits my doorstep. It's costing me 120. And then I'm selling it to the consumer. Now, I do not deal on levels. Retailers do not deal on levels that distributors and manufacturers deal on. So we get more margin. Let's say my margin is going to be 40%. Okay? Let's say, conventional retail, actually, going back to the days, was Keystone. 50% margin, which is basically doubling the price. So let's say I take the $120 watch and I am going to sell it out the door now for $240. So what happens? We had a watch that was manufactured for 80 bucks. It's now being sold for triple that, $240 at retail. And it's all because in that lineup, there's 3 people. Everybody wants to make money. Enter a brand like Phoebus. Phoebus, and I'm not knocking anybody here. I just want to make that totally clear. Seiko is operating the same exact way. They make the watch themselves, or they outsource it to a factory, but they're almost the OEM manufacturer. They sell direct to their customers. They also sell direct to me, and I resell it out, right? So you've cut out at least 1 or 2 steps of the middleman, and that cuts out a ton of margin, and that makes the product so much less expensive. And that's really, in my opinion, where the biggest pricing differentials will come into play, from things like this, extra step, 2 extra people in the process. Everybody wants to make a little bit of money. What's happening now, like I said, with the internet, is that you have things like, you may or may not know it, Orient Watch USA, which the distributor also sells direct to customers. So they're actually, which when my father was in the retail industry, 20, 30 years ago, a distributor selling to the customer was really like spitting in your face as the retailer, because they obviously are operating on higher margins. They can compete with you on price. But nowadays, it's just the norm, and it just happens, and you deal with it. And we're all here to, provide watches at a good price and to make a little bit of money at the end of the day. So that to me is the lowest hanging fruit of why watches are priced the way they are priced. Seiko still abides by the same system, whether they're USA arm, Seiko USA. I don't think it's its own company. I think they're all employed by Seiko of Japan. Global Seiko, whereas Orient, he's kind of like his own company. These are the big things. When I buy direct from Aristo, I'm buying from the manufacturer. If these watches came through from the manufacturer to a distributor to a retailer, they would be so much more expensive. And then, so that to me, again, most important factor, that's the lowest hanging fruit. The other one I want to talk about just very briefly, and then I'm done with the video, is VAT or taxes, especially being in the USA. When you purchase from the USA, a USA vendor such as myself, we've already paid the duty and tax on it. When you bring stuff in from other countries, again, this is USA, you may or may not have to pay tax on it. You have a duty-free allowance of about $600 from Customs and Border Protection if you are using it for personal consumption. If it's being used for commercial consumption, forget it. There's no allowance. You pay no matter what. But keep in mind that vendors such as myself have already paid the duty on the watch for you. So if you think you're going to get a Damasco from overseas for $2,000, you're going to be very upset when it comes to your door. Well, first of all, if it comes to your door, you'll have some kind of a tax bill. If it even gets cleared, packages over a certain amount, over like $2,500, have to go through what's called formal clearance. And that basically you need a PhD in Customs and Border Protection paperwork to fill out the documentation for it. That's what FedEx and UPS and DHL all do for you. So just keep that in mind if you purchase from overseas. You may get hit with taxes, and that also accounts for pricing differentials. I think I've discussed the topic to the not to death, but to the amount that I wanted to. Again, I just thought that whole distribution thing, no one ever talks about it, and to me, it's the most important thing that there is. Obviously, greed does play a role in this whole thing. If one company operates on 10%, one company operates on 20%, that gets compounded. Anyway, you can keep going on and on, but I just thought that was the most important thing. Anyway, so this has been Mark from LongIslandWatch.com, talking to you about watch pricing. Please like the video if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to the channel if you have not done so. If you have any questions or comments, put them down below, and I will be sure to reply to them as soon as I can. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.